What's up everyone, my name is Michael Bordenaro and welcome to my YouTube channel. And just in case you're new here, I make videos about motivation and staying inspired to live the best life you can possibly live. I also make financial education videos to help you stay on the up and up in today's financial world. And I also make lifestyle videos of what it's like to live here in beautiful Miami Beach, Florida. So if these are topics you're interested in, make sure you stay tuned, make sure you subscribe so you get to see all of my future videos. I'm coming to you today from beautiful Pine Tree Park here in Miami Beach, Florida. And I'm going to talk about today how to move to a new city all by yourself. And I know that moving to a new city can be pretty terrifying, especially when you're doing it all alone. But since this is something that I've done personally, I wanted to share my experience and some pointers along the way to make it a success and also some mistakes to avoid. The first tip that I have for you is to plan in advance. And what I mean is to plan where you're going to go, what you're going to do when you get there, what you're going to take with you from home as far as like what you're going to pack, your personal belongings, things like that. And then also planning the actual route of how you're going to get there. Like me, I drove from Belvidere, Illinois to Miami Beach, Florida. And back then that was before the days of Google Maps or anything like that. So I really had to plan my route in advance and know exactly how I was going to get here. And I drove here. So if you're going to fly, that makes it a lot easier, of course. But if you're going to be driving, make sure you know what you're doing. They're everywhere. So the second tip that I have for you is to actually follow through with the move. You've already made the decision to move and you're probably having some second thoughts at this point, not really sure if you should actually follow through with it, but you definitely should. If you've made it this far and you decided you're going to move, actually follow through with the move and make the move. And one thing that can really help throughout this whole process is bringing a friend with you. When I first moved here, I brought my best friend here with me. He stayed here a couple days with me, and that really helped a lot with emotional support and not feeling completely isolated, being in a brand new city all by yourself for the first few days. It really helps just kind of settle in and get yourself adjusted. So the next tip that I have for you is to actually get yourself set up with a job. In case you're not relocating for a job and you're just deciding to leave home on a whim like I did because you're just sick of the way things are and you need some change, then you're going to need to find some work. And that's really the next thing you need to do. It's probably pretty obvious that that's what you have to do, is actually find a job when you get somewhere, but it is a really important step in relocating. And the faster you can get yourself a job and get established with some income, the faster you're actually going to be able to feel more relaxed in your new city. The next thing you need to do that pretty much ties directly in with the last one is you need a place to live. And that was actually my biggest concern when I moved here to Miami Beach, was not knowing the area, not knowing where I was going to live. So part of the deal that I made with the modeling agency that I signed with when I first came here was that they find me a place to live, because I didn't know anybody here. I was brand new in town. I'd never been to Miami before, and that was really my biggest fear. So making sure you have a place to live is really an important one. So after you've gotten yourself somewhat established with where you are with a job and a place to live, the next thing that's probably really going to hit you pretty hard is coping with being in a brand new place all alone, far away from your friends, your family, and anyone you've ever known. So that's really a tough one to deal with. And a lot of people deal with that in different ways, but basically what I did is I just kept myself busy. I worked a lot, I went to the gym a lot, I was living right on the beach, so I saw this beautiful view every day and I couldn't wait to go to the beach every day. And then once you start working, you start making some friends at work, you start getting to know some people from the neighborhood, and you start feeling a little more part of the community little by little every day. So it just gets a little bit easier. But coping can definitely be a big one, and keeping yourself busy with things that you like to do and exploring your new city can help out tremendously when trying to feel at home in a new place. The next one that really ties in with what I just said about coping is making new friends. And when you move to a new place, the sooner you make new friends, the sooner you're really going to start feeling at home. And it doesn't really matter how you make friends, if you make them, at the gym or at your new place of work or just walking through the park like I am right now. The point is, you need to start making some friends sooner than later, because the longer it takes you to make new friends, the longer you're just going to be kind of feeling miserable and maybe a little bit depressed because you're in a new place all alone. So you don't want to feel alone. One of the most important tips I can give you when you're starting over your new life in a new city is to not give up. Like I said before, it can be very lonely, it can be very isolating, but you cannot give up. Give it at least 6 months, you know? You can't stay somewhere for a couple weeks and say, oh, I don't like it, or I miss home, and, you know, running back to your old life. Just don't do that. Give it a chance. 6 months should be enough time for you to really decide if your new city is going to be for you, and you like your new friends, you like your new lifestyle, you like the place you're living. And if it's not, you can always turn around and go back home later, but give it at least 6 months. So now that I just gave you some tips on what you need to do to make your move more successful, I want to talk about some mistakes that I made along the way, so maybe you won't make them also. This one you might not really think about, but if you're moving from a small town like I did to a big city, if your car is a stick shift car, you might want to think about getting rid of it or getting rid of the car altogether, because once you get to a big city, having a car that's a stick shift is a real pain in the ass, especially when you're stuck in gridlock traffic and it's bumper to bumper, things like that. Driving stick just isn't fun. So make sure you have an automatic car, or maybe even no car if you're moving to a place like New York that's really walkable. So really kind of think about where you're going to move and if the car you have is going to be suitable for where you're going to be living. The next thing you want to avoid is having too great of expectations. And what I mean by that is, me personally, I moved here, thought I was going to be modeling and traveling the world and making a bunch of money, and it just didn't turn out like that. But that's okay, because it was still a great experience. I don't regret it whatsoever. I'm still glad that I moved here. Have more realistic expectations of what you're trying to gain out of this trip. What do you think's really going to happen? It's great to have dreams, it's great to have goals, but if things don't exactly happen the way that you thought they were going to, but you're still living a better life than you were before, I would say that's a success. The next mistake you want to avoid is moving with too little money in your pocket. When I came here, I had about $2,000 in my pocket, and you'd be surprised at how fast you go through that $2,000. When you're living in the middle of nowhere, $2,000 seems like a lot of money, but when you move to a big city, $2,000 is gone in a month. So really try to have a couple of months worth of expenses saved up. Depending on where you're going to go and what you're going to be doing, it's kind of hard to really plan ahead with exactly how much money you're going to need. But I say at least if you have $4,000 or $5,000 in your savings account, that can really help get you through those first couple of months. The next mistake you want to avoid making is not researching the culture ahead of time. So I moved from Belvedere, Illinois to Miami Beach, Florida. And I had never been to Miami Beach before. I had been to Florida, but never to Miami Beach. And little did I know that everybody here speaks Spanish, and it's actually the dominant language over English. So I didn't know that when I first moved here, and it was quite a culture shock for me. So make sure you do your research on where you're going and what it's going to be like there before you just up and move. Another big mistake you want to avoid making when you first move somewhere new is paying too much in rent. Make sure you do your research ahead of time. Make sure you find out what's the average going rate for a place in the area, because when I first moved to Miami Beach, I was paying $1,700 a month in rent. And I was just sharing a room with a roommate. So it sounds crazy, and it really was crazy, but I didn't know any better, and so I screwed that part up. But on the plus side, the place was a 2-story apartment on the ocean. It had direct ocean view from every room. It was sick. But still, $1,700 was a lot for a 20-year-old with not a lot of money. Guys, thank you so much for watching my video. As always, I really appreciate it. And if you like this video, make sure you hit the bell notifications, because I'm going to put out another video that covers my entire story of what I had to go through to actually move here and all of the things that happened along the way. So if you're interested in hearing that story, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you like this video, and I'll see you in the next one.